Just into the newsroom, the U.S. Supreme Court lifted restrictions on immigration stops in Los Angeles. Patrols across the city were detaining people if agents suspected those people were undocumented. But back in July, a federal judge ruled those patrols violated the Constitution and could lead to racial profiling. She argued agents detained people because of their race, the language they spoke, or where they worked. The Department of Justice told the Supreme Court that this ruling prevents them from adequately doing their job. By blocking the federal judge's decision, the Supreme Court will allow immigration stops without reasonable suspicion to continue.
All right, family, welcome back to the channel. So let's talk about the big win, the victory for Trump. And that is the Supreme Court lifts restrictions of LA immigration stops. But here's the thing, what I think no one is talking about, everyone wants to make this about racial profiling, but really it's about power. See, what the Supreme Court did wasn't just about ICE, it was about putting activist judges back in their place. For years, you've had these lower court judges issuing nationwide injunctions, basically trying to run the country from the bench. One judge in California says, nope, ICE can't do this. And suddenly, federal immigration enforcement is paralyzed nationwide. But this 6-3 ruling pushes back hard on that. It says the executive branch has the constitutional authority to enforce immigration law. That's not the role of a district judge. It's the job of the president and agencies like DHS and ICE. So make no mistakes. This case isn't about race in Los Angeles. It's about whether the judicial can block the president every time they don't like his policy. And if this goes the way it should, it could set a precedent that strengthens executive power long term. Now, I want you to listen to Tom Homan and the conversation he has. Listen clearly to what ICE is doing to select those illegal immigrants. This debunks all of this pretend racial profiling about the decisions of the Supreme Court. Take a listen to him.
Tom Homan, thank you so much for joining me this morning, sir. I do want to start with that ruling. The judge ordered the administration to stop making indiscriminate immigration arrests in the Los Angeles area and denying detainees right to legal counsel. She wrote that, quote, roving patrols without reasonable suspicion violate the Fourth Amendment to the Constitution, and denying access to lawyers violates the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution. Will the administration comply with this order?
Look, we're going to litigate that order because I think the order's wrong. I mean, she's assuming that the officers don't have reasonable suspicion.
Exactly.
You know, they don't need probable cause to briefly detain and question somebody. They just need reasonable suspicion, and that's based on many articulable facts. So unless she's in the officer's mind, I don't know how she make that, decision that, well, they're not using reasonable suspicion. How does she know that? Exactly. I mean, every officer has to, bring articulable facts to raise reasonable suspicion, and then it can briefly detain. Well, I don't know how she knows that, but I don't think any federal judge can dictate immigration policy. That's a matter for Congress and for the president, and I know the Department of Justice is going to litigate this. We want to take it to the appeals court.
Let's talk about that reasonable suspicion and what it actually means on the ground when it comes to ICE detaining people. You said in an interview this week that reasonable suspicion can be based on, quote, the location, their occupation, their physical appearance, their actions. What about an individual's physical appearance would give immigration agents, quote, reasonable suspicion that they might be in the U.S. illegally?
Well, first of all, let me be clear. Physical description can't be the sole factor to give you reasonable suspicion. As I said in an interview, it's articulable facts with an S. So appearance can be just one. For instance, if someone has an MS-13 tattoo on their face, that may be one factor to add to other factors to raise reasonable suspicion. I want to be clear about that again because my words are taken out of context. Physical description cannot be the sole reason to detain and question somebody. That can't be the sole reason to raise reasonable suspicion. It's a myriad of factors, and I can sit here for the next half hour and give you all the factors. So every officer, every situation is different. But I can tell you this: every ICE officer goes through Fourth Amendment training every 6 months and reminded what their authorities are for arrest, detention, and questioning. So the officers are very well trained. So I look forward to DOJ litigating this judge's decision because I think she's making a decision without knowing what that officer knows when they get out of that vehicle to question somebody.
So what that judge, same judge in the case, said is that an individual's race or ethnicity, the language they speak or their accent, their presence at a particular location like a bus stop or a work site, or the type of work they do does not qualify as reasonable suspicions.
Well, like I said, these are factors that lead to reasonable suspicion. There's a myriad of factors. Every case is different. I'm not going to disagree with everything the judge has said because, a location alone shouldn't have reasonable suspicion. It's a combination of articulable facts that an officer determines before he detains somebody for a short.
But quickly, let's just understand all of the factors are reasonable suspicion. If there's a location that normally has illegal immigrants there, if you are there, you are suspicious, and ICE, the legal authority, has a right to stop you to see if you are an immigrant. It's simple as that. If there was a place that is known for drug distribution and you're there, you're going to likely be arrested for suspicion of being a part of selling or distributing drugs. Like, we're going to use common sense. Let's stop trying to make everything an issue. They're not just going out saying, oh, you look Mexican, I'm going to arrest you. No, you are in an area where there are so many illegal immigrants that, yes, you're going to be brought into question. That's reasonable. That's reasonable suspicion. So let's continue to listen to Tom.
A period of time and questions them. So again, every case is different articulable facts for different people in different places.
Yep.
So I look forward to litigation. I think we will win this on appeal.
Okay,
Absolutely.
so obviously you're appealing, but until that happens, the administration will comply with the judge's order?
The administration is never going to go against the judge's order. We'll litigate it, we'll win it, then we'll get back to doing what we're doing.
I just want to ask more broadly and a little bit of a different sort of question here. One thing I have heard over and over anecdotally is that people who are in the United States legally are scared about getting swept up in all of this because of the color of their skin, because they speak with an accent, because of the location where they might be going. And they're not going out. They don't want to be detained by mistake, have their kids or themselves traumatized.
Don't be in an area
Are you comfortable with that?
where you're going to be detained.
If they're in the country legally, they got no reason to be afraid. ICE is looking for those in the country legally, and we're still prioritizing public safety threats and national security threats. That's the priority. But like I said, we do have collateral arrests in many areas because we're out looking for those public safety threats. But we're going to enforce immigration law too. I mean, it's not okay to be in this country legally. It's not okay to enter this country legally. It's a crime. But legal aliens and U.S. citizens should not be afraid that they're going to be swept up in a raid. We know who we're looking for, and that's what the agents are out there seeking. And they use a lot of information. Most of the operations we conduct are targeted enforcement operations. When we go out, we know exactly who we're looking for. Most likely we'll find them. Many times we have a criminal history and immigration history when we go out looking for that person. So if you're in the country legally, you shouldn't fear ICE. What you should fear is the criminal aliens walking the communities in sanctuary cities.
Well,
agreed.
But you just said that there are, quote, collateral arrests. And that is sparking fear in communities where people are again, scared to go out. So I guess my question is, do you have compassion for those people who are seeing what's going on, hearing you speak, seeing what's happening in their neighborhoods, shouldn't have any concern, but do just because of the reality of what they're saying?
You know, Dana, the bottom line is, if you want less collateral arrest, and let us into jail. I mean, we want to arrest a bad guy in the safety and security of a county jail, but sanctuary cities release him into the community, which means we got to go to the community and find him. And when we find that bad person, many, many times, whether it's at a work site or in the community, they're with other people in the United States illegally. And we're going to let ICE enforce the law, uphold the oath they took. We're not going to be like the last administration who told ICE, instructed ICE, you can't arrest somebody for simply being here illegally. They got to be convicted of a serious offense. That's not what the law says. No. We're enforcing the law. But look, immigration enforcement, I'm going to be clear, immigration enforcement has always been emotional. It's always been controversial. I've been doing this since 1984. I get it. And I understand why people want to come to the greatest nation on earth. I get it. But we can't send a message to the whole world that it's okay to enter this country legally. Don't worry about it. Even though it's a crime, come and enter legally. And when you get an order of removal from a judge, you don't have to leave. You can become a fugitive, and we'll never look for you. We got to send a message to the whole world. There are consequences for breaking laws, and I think that's why one of the reasons we have the most secure border in history of this nation today. It's just not because we got boots on the ground on the border, not because we end in catch or release. A lot of it's consequences. You're watching what's happening. We're enforcing the immigration law, and I think that consequence has a lot to do with having the most secure border in history of this nation.
Exactly.
Let's turn to the raids this week on two cannabis farms in California. ICE says more than 200 undocumented immigrants were detained. The United Farmers Workers Union says multiple workers were critically injured. One, 57-year-old Jaime Alanis Garcia, died after falling 30 feet from a greenhouse roof while fleeing ICE agents. That's according to his family. What's your reaction to that? Somebody losing their life running from ICE?
It's sad. It's unfortunate. He was in ICE custody, and ICE did not have hands on this person, but it's always unfortunate when there's deaths. I mean, no one wants to see people die. And, they were doing the job. They were serving criminal arrest warrants. I mean, the criminal search warrants. And I see the media saying, well, it was an ICE raid. No, they were serving criminal search warrants as part of a criminal investigation involved with child trafficking, child labor. I think it was total 11 children that were found on that farm. And now they're being interviewed, forensics interviews, find out, are they victims of trafficking? If so, who is the subject of that trafficking? And let's hold some people accountable. So it's unfortunate when anybody dies.
So at the end of the day, this is another major win for President Trump and for the American people. It shows that despite of all the noise, the rule of law still matters. And it proves once again that liberals will scream racism every time they lose. So you all, let me know, what do you think about this ruling? Do you agree with the Supreme Court allowing ICE to resume its raids? Or do you think the left is right to call it discriminatory? Drop your thoughts below in the comment section. I really want to hear what you have to say. Again, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Hit the notification bell to receive immediate updates on the next video. Remember, remain curious, stay bold, and have a good evening. And I'll see you in the next video.